Welcome, everybody, to the Rumbling Facts podcast. And today we're going to talk about the SS Ourang Medan. And if you never heard about this boat and you saw the movie in 2002, Ghostship, well, this is exactly the boat. Or else, if you're a video game player and you played the Dark Anthologies, Man in the Median, this video is exactly for you because we're going to break down this boat. I've been researching this boat for about 2 weeks. And let's figure out what I digged up. So, welcome to the Rumbling Facts podcast. Let's go. So today, by diving into this, I did research, and I was realizing by doing all the research, I was like, I knew a lot about this boat there, but I was telling myself I can't just say it the whole podcast because it's gonna be not understandable. So I was telling myself I have to show you guys links and stuff like that to really put everything into place. And if you guys start looking into this, you're going to realize that there's many stories with this whole thing. There's stories that start in 1940, and there are stories that start in 1947, others in 48, and other in 52. So I'm telling you, and the stories all diverge a bit. So let's break it down. I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna go into this. And I'm telling you, this is something else. I was inspired initially by the movie. When I saw the movie, first off, the movie was so amazing for its time, 2002. There's a scene in the movie that since it's an abandoned boat, everything's destroyed. It's been years. Well, the room gets rebuilt in slow motion like it got destroyed. So everything recreates itself, like the glass that's broken reconstructs the glass, the lights return on, the whole thing. It's really that scene is one of the most amazing scenes I ever seen for 2002. And the first scene of this movie, if you never seen this, I never seen a movie at the beginning of the movie like everybody fucking dies. Spoiler alert. It's literally what an amazing start to a movie that shocks you so much that you don't even know where the fuck they're gonna go in this movie. And I rethought about the SS Ourang years later, literally a year ago, when I saw Dark Anthology, Man in the Median, start playing this game, and in my head I had that median in my head, but nothing else. And at a certain point in the game, it's a choice game, so you're gonna move in the game and do different kind of stuff. Let me show you what this game is for a second. So when you go on the site of the video game, literally they ain't hiding it. It's written SS Ourang Medan right there, because it's literally inspired by the movie. And in the movie Ghostship, they find this boat, and when they get on it, nobody's there, and there was no SOS call, and they realized that this boat like drived forever and until it missed gas, but no SOS call, and everything kind of weird of this whole situation. And after they find it, when they go to tow it, well, it explodes literally. In why is that concrete? Because in the original story, well, we realized that when it was gonna go get towed, well, literally the boat caught on fire and sank in front of everybody. This is the developer of the game. He says right here, the Man in the Median was inspired by the urban legend of the SS Ourang Medan, which is about a ghost ship that allegedly became a shipwreck in the Dutch East Indies. in the late 40s. Its entire crew was found deceased under a mysterious circumstance with their face twisted and with fucked up expressions. Why I'm not going to read the whole thing is because there's different stories. So right here we know that they went with the late one. So the story that they fixed with was the 47 or the 48, and the 47 and the 48 are really similar. So that's why in my research, when you do some research in Ghostship and certain stuff like that, here we see again Flying Dutchman, and the original boat is a Dutch boat. I find this to be concord with the initial story of the SS Ourang, but far to be. Okay, this is the boat that they took for the movie, so it's not even the same kind of shit, because this is more a cruise ship or a liner that's made for cruise and relax, and supposedly this boat vanished too. Supposedly this boat there vanished off the coast of Labrador without any alarm and distress signals as well. So it's fucked up that one. They don't even take in the movie and in the video game the original close kind of boat, because even those stories of what kind of boat it was differ. So that's kind of fucked up, because how the hell can that same boat be a steamship and then a freighter? It's literally not the same kind of boat. So what I found out quite fast is there's three main dates of when the incident happened. So we have January. I mean, literally, yeah. Why say January? January 1940, and then we have 1947 in June, at the end of June, and then the story just flipped a bit in 1948, and then they put it in February the 3rd, and it was published on the 28th, allegedly. I caught on to the whole thing is no matter who you talk to about this story, it all comes from this one guy. His name is Silvio. So Silvio Schniley. Accounts heard, he had accounts heard from a missionary that heard it from a survivor of the SS Ourang. So this is the second story, the one in 1947 and 48, that allegedly the first person account is somebody that was on the boat from the crew that just told a story and then disappeared in midair, because we don't know the name of this guy. We never found him. We never saw him. We don't know what the fuck. And then in the other story, a marine officer that said it to a mercenary that said it to Silvio. See how it all comes back to Silvio again, and it's the same guy, but 7 to 8 years difference. So there's a lot of people that I'm sure that story is exaggerated, but what I found, but I'm quite sure that there's still some possibilities in this whole thing. So let me share my screen again. So the chilling story of the SS Ourang, the ghost ship, whose entire crew died with faces frozen in terror. And that depends on which story, because in the first story, they never mention the frozen faces. They just say that everybody was just dead without no signs of a struggle or anything like that. And the SS Ourang reportedly exploded in the Strait of Malacca, I'll say it like that, sometimes in the 40s after its crew died under a mysterious circumstance. But is this all a legend, people? And this is not the boat, really. They just created an image for the fact. And there's a couple of weird stories about this whole thing, because I found newspaper articles of different dates. Like it says here, different versions of the tale vary slightly, with one claiming that it was a lone survivor that washed up on shores beside Marshall Islands. With each version of the story came new theories about what had really happened on that ship. Some said the vessel was attacked by pirates. Others claim it was smuggling dangerous chemicals that suffocated the crew and caused the ship to explode. And few conspiracy theories believe that the incident had supernatural causes. So, in the movie Ghostship, it's gold that they're smuggling, and they put things to hallucinate, like a chemical, on the gold. So, let's say somebody would try to steal the gold. Well, everybody will hallucinate and maybe kill themselves. And what they did here is literally it would be two different chemicals that put together would attack your nerve system, and literally you would die of just getting jammed. Your nerve system would jam until your death, and that sounds horrible. It says some of the most popular stories of the tales states that the ship was traveling through the Strait of Malacca, and in others it says the Marshall Islands, and then the other it says the Solomon Islands. So let's check this out a bit. So here's a photo of Malaysia and Indonesia, okay, people? And this is not the boat there. This is not the boat. This there is one of the biggest cities in Indonesia. And the second story, 47 to 48, well, the boat would be passing through here and it would have sank. So a lot of people think that since the story was original in 40, that this one they would have named it the Median because of their city right here, or they're the one initially that built that boat and all that. And if we look over here, so the Marshall Islands are right here, people, and the Solomon Islands are right here. Indonesia and Malaysia are right here, with the Strait of Malacca right in between them. We're talking about a fucking distance, people. This is really, so as you can see right here. So between here and here, we're talking about 2,500 kilometers between the Solomon Islands. And I'm telling you, they're there. It's so small there that you can't even see those islands. And when you're looking for fucking a Marshall Island, I'm telling you, you can't even see shit. You're literally in the middle of nowhere. Telling you, it's so small. So this is about like 2,100 kilometers there between the two first spots of the 1940 story. And then if we believe the last story, we're moving all across here until the Strait America right here. Do you guys see how far the fuck that is from the place initially? That is crazy. That is one of the proofs that a lot of people take to discredit the whole story. They're like, see, the locations are so different that for sure it's impossible. Me, I'm gonna need more than that for me to destroy the story. Since there's so many dates, sometimes it confuses people, and they're like, "Fuck, for sure, this can't be real." And the SOS call there, this is the freaky part of this whole shebang. In one of the stories, the first SOS call is, "We float, all officers, including the captain, dead in the charter room on the bridge, probably whole crew dead." And then there's like some scribbling that we can't even understand in Morse code, and then we hear, "I die." Nobody says "I die." People say "I'm dying" or something. There's an American vessel called the Silver Star. He set out to investigate after the SOS call. When the ship came across the Ourang Medan, a group of men boarded it and found a grisly sight awaiting them. The entire crew was dead, teeth bared, with their upturned face to the sun, staring as if in fear. Even the ship's dog had died mid-snare. Strangely, however, none of the bodies showed any signs of physical injuries. So this is the first version. So in the first version, they don't say that the faces are really fucked up. Like in the second story, they're gonna tell us that the story is like exaggerated. That's how I feel. I feel like the first story, if it's real, well, it has more possibilities of being true than the second one, because the second one is just pushed to the highest degree. We're gonna get into it. right after. So right, like the movie I said earlier. So right when the Silver Star crew was about to tow the SS Ourang, whoa, what do you know? What happened? Smoke started to come from the vessel out of nowhere, and then the rescuers made it to safety before the ship exploded. People, the SS Ourang sank at the bottom of the sea and never to be seen again. Gone. See ya. What I wanna be ya. So many versions of the legend end there. However, one report claimed that there was one sole survivor who provided more details to the ship fate. This is what I'm talking about. The second version, as reported by the shipyard blog, one account of the SOS Medan spoke to a man named Jerry Rabbit. I'm telling you, when you're named a rabbit, I don't know. I don't know if you're somebody to trust. Rabbit reportedly washed up to the shore of the Marshall Islands, the first two islands that I showed you guys, in the lifeboat with 6 dead crew members on board. 10 days after the boat exploded, he made contact with a missionary, like I said, and told him this incredible story of his survival. Rabbit said that he had joined the crew of Ourang Medan in Shanghai, and this is relative because we're gonna see later in the story that, well, a crew of Japanese Unit 741, well, they were working on chemicals and stuff like that, and Japan is not that far, people, away from this. There, Japan, well, Japan is right here. Though. Japan, whoa, right here. Japan is right there. Though. Japan is even closer than the second place that they said. Though. So Japan there, and this, to give you guys an idea, this is the time of war there. We're talking about 1940 or 1947. When the war just stopped, or you're in the war literally. He claimed that there was 15,000 crates. Imagine how big that fucking boat could be if, 15,000 crates. They were loaded into the vessel before it set off to Costa Rica. It was only then that Rabbit realized that he had joined a smuggling operation, allegedly. So he followed his crewman complaining about stomach cramps. He grew suspicious, and when the crew member died, he knew he had to find what the ship was carrying. He peeked at the vessel logbook and discovered that the crates from China held ferric acid. I can't even say that right. Sorry, everybody. Acid and potassium cyanide. There you go. And nitroglycerin. Rabbit suspected that the sulfuric acid was leaking, creating a gas that was slowly suffocating everybody on board there. As more men were starting to drop, Rabbit and 6 others sneaked away on the lifeboat. And for me right there, let's say that they all went on the lifeboat. Why did all the others die? There's not even one that could have just survived just the road to get there. No. They all died. There's only one person that can say this story. Like, none of his crewmates survived the journey. And Rabbit himself died soon after repeating his strange tale, or fucking disappeared. Aside from one story printed in 1940 newspaper that I have it, I'm going to show you guys in a bit, and I have CIA papers that talk about the SS Ourang. You better stay tuned for this. So that there was no record of Jerry Rabbit existence. Oh, this dude probably never lived. In fact, there is no record of the ship of a name of SS Ourang Medan. But so let's talk about this. A lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, cause of that, Sam. Cause of that, Sam." Well, what are you doing? What are you doing researching this book? They just said it right there. The boat never existed. There's no paper trail of this boat, and there's a something called the registry for boats. Every boat that goes into the water is in this register, and the SS Ourang is not. So because of that, a lot of conspiracy theorists or researchers stop right there in their search because they're like, "Fuck, that's it. Case settled. Let's go back home, people. Let's pack up our bags. We got it. We got it. The fuck not, people. The fuck not. That doesn't prove shit. Because let's say they're doing illegal shit. Look, okay? Do you think they're gonna register a boat? Do you think they're gonna tell people what's on the boat or where the boat is going, especially in time of war? So let's say they're moving weapons. Are they gonna say it to another country? The fuck not. If they're moving gold like they did in the movie, are they probably not? And if they're trying to be strategic and maybe go kill some people or another angle, are they gonna tell people? The fuck not. So the last thing you're gonna do is register a boat. It's like, oh, okay, I got this boat. I'm gonna send it to y'all. So out of nowhere, you guys know it's coming. The fuck not. They're not gonna say it. So that's what I think about that. So then, that's it. It's called the Lloyd's Registry of Ships, which keeps record of every merchant ship since 1764. People, no ship by the name of SS Ourang Medan was ever documented, and there are no official incidents report about the ship sinking. Obviously. What's more, no evidence of the wreck was ever found in the Strait of Malacca or elsewhere. Well, I think if it sunk somewhere, it's more by the Solomon Islands and Marshall Islands there, because that's like the first story came out of there. So why would the second story, like, we be like 7,000 kilometers away? That don't make sense. And this is where in the U.S., like, this became a bit popular there, because a German researcher named Professor Theodor Silverdorfer once found a 1953 publication titled "The Death Ship" in the South Seas that offered evidence about the incidents. Oh shit! For everybody that stopped their research, you're gonna learn today. And then the book suggests that SS Ourang was indeed carrying potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin, which caused it to explode. If the ship sank either during or directly after World War II, the secrecy surrounding the vessel would make sense, people. Those material were sensitive items to be transported at the time. However, one report account of the ship does not mean that it truly existed, and that's facts. Because to prove something, you need to repeat the test and figure it out. The first newspaper account reported appeared missing in 1940 in Britain. However, it didn't make its way to the U.S. till 48, and there's some people that just heard it in 52 when a guy wrote an article about it. When news of the Ourang was printed in something legit publications, such as the San Francisco Examiner. Damn, I got trouble talking tonight. Why did the stories emerge 8 years apart, and what caused many of the details in them to differ so drastically? Today, there are still many questions that remain unanswered about the SS Ourang. So many, in fact, that the ship's tale rejected almost completely by the realm of a legend. After learning about the SS Ourang, another boat there you guys should check out is the Mary Celeste. They talk about it in the movie Ghostship. It's alleged another boat that just disappeared off of thin air out of nowhere. And that is kind of fucked up there, because nowadays with technology that we got to now, well, that almost doesn't happen. But you got the MH370. It's like, that's why I put it in my cocaine song. I'm like, shadows still around the MH370 plane, because I don't think we're ever gonna know, because it's like, did you ever see the government fuck up on something or a business and literally admit their fault, or like, oh yeah, we fucked up, it's all us? So because of stuff like that, man, I think that's why that's why we don't have the real information about MH370 and about the SS Ourang. So if we see here, according to the Brooks, the median was then 40-year-old, 5,000-ton cargo steamer ship. So remember that it's a steamer ship in one of them, and then the other one, it's a freighter ship. Go look at these up. It's not the same fucking kind of boat at all. One works on steam. That's why it's called like that. Its name translated to the man in the median. And in Malaysian, see how it's fucked up? It's a Malaysian Airlines that lost a plane of MH370. And who lost the fucking boat? Well, allegedly in one of the stories, it's them as well. Isn't that fucked up? He pointed out that they added a masculine name to the ship. It was a break from the traditional female names that people were choosing. The median was allegedly passing through the Strait of Malacca with 23 crew on board, including captain and a number of workers native to Indonesia. So it's like if the boat came from Indonesia, like I showed you guys at the beginning, like there's a big city in Indonesia called Medan. Exactly what was on board, nobody fucking knows what was on board. In any case, it never made it. In the story relayed by Brooks, an Italian officer of the ship received an SOS call, SOS from the Ourang ships with shortwave, get urgent, doctor. Because it's not that, I saw it often, it's doctor. Then this followed by a slightly different message from one of the reported in other accounts. We are floating. Second officer dead on the bridge. Captain and chief engineer dead in charter room. Probably whole crew dead. Partly. Here, the message was said to have been delivered badly. And here they write, I am dying, but it's really I die. I could fact check that there. I saw that on multiple sites there. After receiving the distress call, rescuers headed towards the boat, a journey that took them into the following day. When they spotted the median, it was no longer moving. Steam no longer billowing from the smokestacks. It listed slightly. I don't even know what that means. Probably move slightly. So a crew member from the responding ship attended to rouse attention to anyone on board with a loud holler or a loudspeaker. They were met with silence. Climbing on board, the men discovered the dead bodies of the crew along with the dead dog. The radio operator, presumed the one who had plead for help, was still by the radio. None appeared to have any subject of any violence, but they also didn't seem as though they went peacefully. So let's say that it was the chemicals. Well, that would exactly explain that. And the postures were like people convulsing and expressions like twisted. So when your nerve system jams, well, you could die in those kind of weird ways. So before they started checking most of the stuff, they started seeing smoke coming from the ship. So it caught fire. Then after they started to climb off, the rescuers watched the median was rocked by a total of 4 explosions, allegedly, engulfed in flames. It sank in the water, taking the information of its fate to the end, people. To the end. Like it says here, it's not easy for a ship to simply disappear, as nocturnal travel usually involves record and departure stops arrival among the evidence. But if this boat is doing something fucking illegal, it won't be registered. Nobody's gonna know it's fucking there, especially during the time of war. Here they say the first and most concerning detail about the medium story is the ship was never registered to the Lloyd's shipping, which records every ship. But like I said, it's like if it's a criminal ship, they're not gonna probably put on the paper. So when the story arrived in January 48, well, a lot of people had septics because after Brooks said the story and stuff, and in fact, they were rather late for the news because the early British newspapers and reports of the median fate were actually in 1940. In these accounts, the distress call was similar, but the median's radio operator soon abandoned a request for a medical help and demanded a warship. So in one of the stories, they're asking for a doctor, and boats with short wave. It's a way of communication. And but now they're asking for a warship to come assist them. A British merchant ship responded and found roughly 12, not 23, 12 dead bodies. It's possible, one officer said, that they were more crew members, but the imminent explosion forced them to abandon the search. In this telling, the crew didn't possess any frozen faces of terror, and requests for a warship may have implanted, uh, meant maybe that they were getting attacked. As the story spread, the most frequent speculations was that the ship had been subject to some kind of gas or chemical leak that had seen its crew members overcame them. Possibly a release of fumes after a rocky time at the sea jolted the cargo and opened it up. This theory was put forward in 1953 as well. The German booklets titled "The Das Totem Schiffen der Steidse," the dead ship in the South Seas, by a man of Odo Mike, who wrote that potassium cyanide and nitroglycerin could have prompted an explosion and were also controversial enough cargo for the ship's handlers to avoid scrutiny. By none of the rescuers were affected by such fumes if they were there. But remember that the Medan was found with one lifeboat missing, according to Brooks. According to this guy that resays the same story that was told 8 years ago. So do we believe Brooks? I don't think so. The story of the Medan grew and involved speculation that there had been one survivor. Like I said, the second story, there's a miracle survivor from this whole story, and he comes back to Earth, land, with all the rest of the crew that's on his safety ship dead. After rowing away from the catastrophe, he was found alive in the Pacific Island, where he told occupants that two gases had accidentally been mixed together to create a deadly toxin cloud. He was warned not to abandon the ship, ignored it, and reached safety. He lived long enough to relate his tale and then die as a result. It's like that rabbit guy there. It's like they die right after, because these people, I don't think they're real. I think they're fictive. They're really sci-fi shit. Me and my research, the name, like I said earlier, Silvio Nili or whatever. Well, that name for me pops up in both stories, in the 1940 and the 1947 one. And the first time, it's him. He hears a story from a mercenary that went to rescue the boat, and then it's a survivor 7 years later. It's like, if the story wasn't good enough the first time, let's modify it and make it even better. Who told the Dutch news outlets of the ship in 1940? Who may have been he may have been the source for accounts that same year. Did he speak to Indonesian and Dutch papers again in 1948? And you know that guy, that the two other guys that we talked about, like, is it still the same guy, just changing his name? So it, like, if it comes from somebody else to make his story more believable or get the attention he wanted. It said here that if so, it may be that the guy Silvio simply fed all a tale to the reporters, greedy for a compelling story that would make something good out of a story. It says here, if the SS Ourang existed, it's certainly possible that the crew tried to maintain a low profile. It is also conceivable a gas explosion was embellished by Silvio and others without conclusion proof for against its existence. The idea of the lone radio operator pleading for help as the crew members fell around him has endured for decades. That's often enough, people. We went through a lot there, and we ain't done yet, people. We're far from the end of this story. So let's dive in a bit further. So like I said before, like, the stories really differ. And as we can see right here, wait a second. as we can see right here, variations to the story of the fate of the Ourang Medan circulated for years and so on there. Like other mysteries of the sea, it's like, when you're playing a telephone, the telephone game, well, the story's always going to change. Nobody really knows where it all started besides the first information or news articles about it is in 1940. The first problem of the story is that there's no evidence of the ship named. So we got that out of the thing, because if they're criminals, they're probably not going to do it. There's no shipping record as well. Same answer for me. Nobody ever came forward and said they knew the ship and has served on her. He adds equally the inconsistent dates and stands out. Me is the location. They say it right after. Me is the location. The location, we're talking about 7,000 kilometers difference in between the two spots, and 9,000 between all three spots. So like I said before, some stories reported that the ship went lost close to the Solomon Islands, while others place it at the Marshall Islands. And the earliest known mention of the sinking of the Ourang was found by researcher Estelle Hargraves. She discovered quotes from the British Marine officers in 1940, published in the British national newspaper during World War II. These articles describe a distress call from a ship requesting from a medic and a warship. In this version, however, it's a British merchant ship, not an American one, that came to their rescue of the Ourang and found only the dead crewmen, no dog in this version. The only consistency in this telling compared to the other versions is that the ship did explode and nothing was recovered. So there's some similarities. So this is not an actual photo, but so there's some similarities, but we're close to being like at the end of this rabbit hole. So where does this story go wrong? East points out that the pivotal character in this whole story, like I saw as well in my research, is this dude, Silvio, again. And I lost the registers that I found of this dude, but this dude was on board of certain ships that went to the Marshall Islands and went to the U.S. multiple times. And why is that relative? Oh, you're gonna see at the end of this story. It's fucking crazy. Everything gets attached. He may explain where the truth went sideways. The original reports became embellished by others, primarily this same dude who was looking to profit from the story. In 1948, a Dutch Indonesian newspaper, The Locomotive, that's what that means, described the Ourang Medan sailing from the Chinese port to Costa Rica in an attempt to keep its illegal cargo a secret. There you go. This covert operation was divulged by only the remaining survivor of the ship. So can we really believe that? Hard to tell. A German who was found by a missionary washed up on Taiongi Atoll in the Marshall Islands. It's an island that's even smaller than the Marshall Islands. The German eventually succumbed to his injuries, but not before revealing that the ship was carrying sulfuric acid. The cargo, he said, was mishandled and fumes escaped the container, silently killing the crew and ultimately causing the ship to explode. The Italian missionary who discovered the survivor also told this story to none other than the writer, Silvio, because he's going to write you a fucking great ass story. What's interesting about Silvio, he was based in Trieste. Trieste is in Italy, people, in 1940, the place where the original story comes from. Dun, dun, dun. See, even me in my research, I fell on this shit. This is fucked up. No one can certain that it is Silvio that who made the 1940 report, but he was there. And then he reported it again in 1948. But if you believe in ghost stories, you can believe in humankind capability to deceive as well, I hope. The ghost ship that never was. Over time, the story of the Uran was retold by new storytellers, embellishing different details, dates, location, and even the fates of the crew twist and turn with each new telling. Did dangerous chemicals kill the crew? We don't know. Was there a survivor? Probably the fuck not. What's more likely, says East, is the Uran never really existed except the imagination of storytellers. I believe that the ship sank in mysterious circumstance, but it is likely during the Second World War, as like the 1940 reports say. However, it is likely never named Uran Median, as the journalist Silvio, this guy, got hold of the story, filling the gaps in what he'd heard with his own entertainment embellishments, said East. There is often a truth hidden in deep of the most myths, but people need to tell a better story. Uh, uh, tell a better story takes over, meaning the truth is lost. So in this next like kind of story of this boat, well, things start turning again because they're gonna a couple of things of the story get added or taken out totally. As you can see here, several ships in the area picked up on the Uran Median's Morse code, including two of the United States boats out of nowhere, the SS City of Baltimore and the SS Silver Star. And a lot of people did research in the Silver Star, saying that the Silver Star never existed, obviously, because it was under another name at that time, and there was a Silver Star boat back then. So a lot of people are gonna change on that, and there's the other name of the boat. So depending on the story you check out about this whole thing, the Silver Star boat there that we're talking about right here was renamed the SS Santa Cecilia. Then in 1949, rechanged its name to the SS Ilya Grande, and there's some other reports that say that it changed for Santa Guan, the Grace liner. So it's like every boat in this story there, it is really every boat that interacted with the SS Uran, we have trouble finding them too. We got to dig deep there, but they're possible to find. But a lot of people are just gonna stop at that and like not go further in this rabbit hole. So both of these vessels were several hundred nautical miles away from the coordinates transmitted by the distressed ship, but they both attempted to continue engaging in the SS Uran. While they got closer, the Silver Star changed course. No further transmission came from the ship. However, when the SS Uran was finally located, silence greeted the Silver Star. The ship drifting gently and listed slightly to starboard, did not respond to the siren call and did not respond to the yell in the microphone like we said earlier. So they found the first bodies on the upper decks, spread on their backs, their upward turned faces frozen in fear. The crew of the SS Run had clearly suffered something unimaginably horrible. The Silver Star crew found more of the same on the bridge and in the wheelhouse and in the charter room. Officers, the captain, the radio operator, every single soul on board the ship had expired. Not even the ship's resident dog had escaped whatever terrible fate. So again, they add the dog story, and sometimes it's not in the story. So they observe again that one lifeboat is off. But true or not, the tale of the Uran Medan has become fixed in the landscape of maritime legends. Indeed, it has proven to be a persistent that even made its way into the CIA archives. How the fuck can a boat that don't fucking exist, people, okay, that don't fucking exist, fall in the archives of the CIA? There's probably something there. Why the fuck are they talking about it? So I started going deep online to find these papers for y'all people, and God bless America, because I found those papers. So with the Freedom of Information Act, electronic reading room, people, CIA government, let's go. So this is a letter to Mr. A. Austin Bricker Jr. from C.H. March Jr. Approved for release this date. Dear Mr. Bricker, document classified number class has changed to something that we don't understand. Next review date, and then numbers that we don't get. So this happened on December 5th, 1959. That supposedly he wrote this letter. On May 29, 1958, I sent you a letter concerning ships in high seas or ships which have disappeared without trace. Well, that's kind of concerning. Concerning the Dutch vessel, the SS Ourang Medan, I will be indeed grateful for. We're gonna see even better like this, because I guess I was missing a piece of my screen. There you go. But let's say I enlarge this a bit so we can see something. God damn, we can't see nothing on these CIA papers. They don't want us to read it, people. Boom. So at least we see the whole screen now. Disappear without a trace. Well, I just read a weird story concerning the Dutch vessel SS Ourang. I will be indeed grateful for your opinion for this story. Also, do you think something from the unknown is involved? CIA Act in early February 1948. An SOS came from the SS Ourang Medan. Dutch and British listening indicated the vessel as proceeding through the Malacca Strait. So see, they have it in the second story, since it's further from the Solomon and Marshall Islands. The sea was calm, the weather was clear. SOS again came in like a forensic call. After a short silence, all officer, including the captain, dead, lying in a charter room and on the bridge, probably whole crew dead. There was a follower series, things that we couldn't read, and then you can clearly hear "I die," like I said before, "I die" right here. "I die," people. Rescue ships from the Dutch Sumatra and the British Malaya rushed to the indicated location of the vessel distress. They found her only 50 miles from the position given. Boats were put over the sides to investigate. When boarding parties reached the Ourang, they made an eerie sight. There wasn't even a living creature on the ship. The captain lay dead on the bridge. The bodies of the other officers sprawled in the wheelhouse, charter room, and wardroom. And see, this is the first time we hear this one. This is not in none of the stories I saw yet. The faithful Sparks was slumped in a chair in the radio shack, his hand still on the sending key of the Morse code machine there. The bodies of the crew lay everywhere in their rooms, or maybe in their rooms, in the passageways, on the decks, and all are dead face with a look of convulsing horror. As a report of the proceedings of the Merchant Marine Council put in their frozen faces, were upturned to the sun with their mouths were gaping open and their eyes staring. This was added in the second story. So they're all going with the second story. This is what we can see right here. Everyone was dead. Even the ship's dog. Again, the dog. We bring it back. A small terrier. See, for the first time ever, I see the fucking kind of a dog. Wow. This is the first time I read the CIA paper. Just when I found him earlier, I was so happy. But wow, this is me reading him for the first time. So it's a terrier. That's incredible, because we never talked about the dog kind since the beginning. Its teeth bared in anger and agony, but strangely, there was no sign of wounds and injuries on any parts of the body. See, in the original story, they just say nobody had wounds, and now they're putting the open mouth, the staring eyes, This is just in the second story that they put that kind of shit to embellish the whole story. And the second story is even crazier. It's a survivor that tells us this fucking story. After a quick conference, the boarding parties decided to put a tow line onto the vessel and take it here into the port. But at the very moment that the smoke what belch forth from number 4 hold, the fire was immediately so hot. Wait a second. Was immediately so hot, so widespread that it was impossible to subdue. The boarding parties abandoned ship and returned to their safety of their own vessels. Moments later, the terrific explosion on the what? It's so mixed up on the Uran, and then see they didn't error on Uran and they put it with an M, and then the vessel sank with all the dead crew. IROQ 71.7 prove for release. The holds the answer to many of these airplanes incident unsolved mysteries of the sea. Also, I have often have often thought about many sightings of huge fairy spheres rising from the sky or disappearing into the seas by ships captains and crews in the 18th and 19th centuries. There are alarming passage in the old English chronicles written by medieval Latin, and in Latin, oh my god, I can't even say innubila, or books printed before the year of 1500 AD, which suggests that these fairy spheres cause destruction and that they could come within the planet. Literally, talk about UFOs there. So now we're gonna dive into the news articles I found. I found a couple news articles, 1940 and 1947, about this whole issue that keeps getting weirder and weirder further we dig. So here we are on the myth of the Ourang Medan Ghostship in 1940. So this is a newspaper article right here, and from the Yorkshire Evening Post, the 21st of November, 1940, people. And it's literally the same stories on and on. Mystery SOS from the death ship. Unwounded bodies found on deck. Explosion defeated the boarding party. An eyewitness account of the last phase of the mysterious sea tragedy had been brought to Trieste. Trieste is a city in Italy, people, by a merchant marine officer. That's a marine officer is the first story. Who went to the rescue of the steamer. Remember this steamer ship, not a freighter, a steamer. The Ourang Medan off the Solomon Islands last November. Thursday, SOS was flashed from the SS Ourang asking for doctor urgently, and then later asking for a warship. This officer found the ship's officer and crew dead on deck with no visible wounds, and he blah 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 blah. And they were 200 miles southwest of the Solomon Islands, said the officer. When we intercepted the following signal SOS from the steaming SS Ourang, big ships were with shortwave wireless get touch and doctor urgently. With our shortwave set with relayed to call for help, medical stations in Germany, Rome, and France replied. We informed the SS Medan and asked her for transmission at her request. And now I did research on this. I did research in these places, Rome, Germany, and France, if they ever got this signal allegedly. And I'm telling you, I went deep, and I did not find a piece of grain of salt in there. Not one. Like, for sure, this boat will never be as popular as the Mary Celeste there, but there's a lot to be said from this story, though. So again, different articles, different kind of information. So there's some give and take in every kind of information that you do your research in. That's why I realized with fucking 20 years of research and this kind of stuff there. And I'm really normally there. I can like dial into something besides that Silvio guy that I don't know. I think there everything is surrounded by this dude. This dude just kept going with his story and kept pushing it and embellish because the second time everything's embellished. The staring eyes, the dog, everything's just bigger and more flamboyant, and literally it's a survivor instead of just a marine guy that says this story. So if we recheck right here there at different articles, we have two articles in 1940 in the Yorkshire Evening Post there talking about it, and then there's the Daily Mirror, the 22nd of November. The other one was the 21st that they put it. So this is the next day after the first article that they put this article in it. And to show you how small they use this for, this is mini. So like it says here, many details are the same from the 1948 or 47 version, with noticeable exceptions. There's nothing of the like the fucked up details of how they're dead, like really weird, where their mouth open and their eyes staring. The ship was a steamship, not a freighter, people, not a freighter. In the second story, they add freighter, and then later on, they don't even say freighter anymore. So the story changed 3 times. It's like the locations. And then the location changed again. At first report, it was found in the southeast Solomon Islands, and then was in the southwest of the Marshall. It's not written there, but I researched this shit in the Marshall Islands. And then, like I showed you guys, it's literally 7,000 kilometers away in the Marastra, the Strait of Maraca. They're, like he says right here, they're a long way from each other, people. And in 1940, is the Solomon Islands. In 1940, it's suddenly 1,300 miles north in the Marshall Islands, and finally, it's located about 4,000 miles further west in the Strait of Malacca. I think it would be hard to have been mistaken the ship like multiple times. But like we said, this story there all starts with one guy, the Silvio guy, that I realized that he was around these places, and he was in Italy the 2 times this story was told. Look, the 2 times, and out of nowhere, the story just went to a reporter both times, so it got published there both times. It's like if he didn't get enough attention the first time because World War was happening, so he reset the story a second time when the war was over, and he was like, let's embellish this shit a bit. I want people to listen to my fucking story. Maybe, like, so significantly, the SOS message are marked differently. This is very interesting. And for me, this is the shocking point there. The first says SOS from the steamship SS the Ourang Medan, big ships with shortwave wireless. Get in touch with a doctor urgent. And the second was probably second officer dead, other crew also killed. Disregard medical consultation. I can't even talk right today. Oh my god, sorry people. SS urgent assisting warship. The article says the ship then gave her position and ended with the final incomplete message the crew has. The guy's like, I suppose there was no need to mention warships the next time the story was dusted off in the post-war 1948. Another noticeable difference in the story claims to have come directly from the merchant marine from the rescuing ship, not a washed-up survivor from a sunken ship telling his story to a missionary. We'll see how that is completely different. That rescuing ship wasn't named either, like they say the Silver Star, but it's like the Silver Star could have been another ship, because in the second story, in one of the stories, they don't name a ship. And for that matter, it wasn't named, and it wasn't named in 1948 version either. The detail of the Silver Star were thrown in later down the line on his journey from the newspaper report to legend. But like he says, but I think this is the crux of the story. We have the same detail that the information comes from Trieste, Italy, like we said, and was dated that very Thursday morning as well. In other words, the same day it appeared in the evening paper. Trieste is the crucial link in all this, people, as we can therefore assume that Silvio, this fucker of Trieste, is the same person involved in this story as he was in the later versions of this story. If he was the source of the 1940s story, then there's simply no way he could have truthfully reported on the matter in 1948, describing it as a new incident. It could be the case that there was another source of the story in Trieste in 1940, perhaps someone who told it to Silvio. In the same, if the story came from Indonesia, then the sources could be numerous. But Trieste seems too specific and too distant to have many witnesses or other people who knew about this story from far away. The Associated Press archives and other newspaper stories which blossom from their reports might be the key here. The locomotive, like I saw in other articles, the locomotive stated clearly that the entirety of the information comes from Silvio. It ended into a series of very skeptical. This is the last part of the story about the mystery of the Ourang. We must repeat that we don't have any other data on this mystery of the sea, nor can we answer the many unanswered questions of the story. It may seem obvious that this is a thrilling romance of the sea. On the other hand, the author, Silvio, assured us of this the authenticity of the story. A broken casket of sulfuric acid. It seems like a likely theory that the romance of the sea began and ended with Silvio. And if so, perhaps he got a taste of the embellishing the story after years, adding the staring eyes, the gaping mouths, the changing of locations, the fucking dog, the warship and freighter ship that they were, and then steamship. Ourang Medan translate as the man in the median. In Indonesia or Malaya, perhaps the city of Median in Indonesia, like I said, which is directly adjusted to the Malkara Strait, belatedly felt like more suitable location for the ship bearing its name. So, like saying in other words that literally Indonesia would have like push the story of why the boat came from them, because they have the big city named like the boat, like for sure they wanted that legend in their like it came from them there. But I researched a lot of boats that went in that strait to literally search for sunk boats, because it was very common in those time in 1940s for a lot of sunken boats in that part. People because of the war and everything, so they would, it's literally a cemetery of boats in that strait. It's an era where mysteries could and obviously did thrive. In fact, the Marshall Islands have also been proposed as the site where Amelia Earhart she crash landed. In the end, my theory is that Silvio didn't get quite the notoriety that he saw the first time around there. The news buried the events with the ongoing World War. Perhaps he sat on this fucking story until the war ended. World news quiet down. He tried it again, but maybe there was more still to be found of how the story got off the ground. Either way, don't believe anything you read in the papers, and don't believe anything that comes from the news either, people. You gotta check my song, look into it. It's literally about critical thinking, people. A lot of people nowadays, we lost critical thinking, and it's very essential and very important to think by yourself and not just swallow what the government has been telling you since for fucking forever. With like people always thinking for themselves and stuff like that. Now the system wants you in that box, and when you're in that box, You're so easier to control. They can do what the fuck you want with them. Oh, these people are swallowing my cereal of bullshit, and like they keep going. I won't name the virus, but you know that when that happened, literally they had us locked inside our homes like this. I'm sure it was a test. Maybe I don't say it's not real. I'm sure it was real, but literally it's a test how easy they can control us. Because we weren't like this. Oh, okay, this is what you want, and we followed like fucking sheep to the highest degree. It, we're in the fucked up world, people. So that's why you got a critical think. So we're at the last part of this adventure, and it gets spicy because when we think this is all over and all this shebang, I found a couple of stuff that is fucking incredible, people. So let's share my screen once again. And even if you go on the SS Ourang on here, you're gonna see that they put multiple of these stories, but they start their story in 48, 48, 47. And then here they rewrite the Silvio guy again because he just kept going. He just kept going. It's like somebody that's tries to sell his book. He's gonna sell that book for fucking years, because it's gonna sell at a certain point now. Let's go inside the Unit 731 of German gruesome World War II human experience program. They literally were fucking people up just for the fucking fuck of it. Literally testing chemicals and hurting people, kidnapping people, torture people. Hey, I'm telling you, so it's so nasty. Some of the stuff I read that these guys would do. So it's a special unit, and it's literally killers of Japan, the top killers of scientists and scientists and little criminals. And remember this name over here. He's the top guy of this unit. Okay, Unit 731. So, among the thousand experiments conducted on prisoners, vivid sections without anesthesia, injection of venereal disease to examine their spread, amputation to study blood loss, removal of other body parts and organs, starvation, and deliberate exposure to freezing temperatures to examine the effects of frostbite. From a 1995 article in the New York Times related a story from a medical assistant in Unit 731. The Chinese prisoner had been deliberately infected with the plague as part of a research project. You believe that, people? My goodness, we're in the right country. The full horror of which is only now emerging, to develop plague bombs for use in the World War II. After infecting him, the researchers decided to cut him open to see if the disease does to a man inside. No anesthesia was used. The former medical assistant said, out of concern that it might have an effect on the results. My goodness, people. Not one of the 1,000 prisoners that were experimented on, most of whom were Chinese, though many were Russians and Korean, survived. Not one. Not one. Wow. It's like they weren't letting nobody out of there. It's like, you're not coming out of here gonna whistle blow us like Edward Snowden. The fuck not. The Japanese hatched a plan to infect fleas with a plague manufactured at Unit 731 and drop flea-filled bombs launched from planes stored aboard submarines on San Diego in a mission codenamed Operation Cherry Blossoms at night. The war ended before the plan could be executed. Thank God we didn't see that. After the U.S. dropped atomic bombs on Japan and effectively ended the war one shot in 1945, Japanese leaders ordered the destruction of Unit 731, which included more than 150 buildings with 2 airports to themselves. As As the victorious Allied forces approached, many hundreds of remaining prisoners were killed. The thousands of people who worked in the place that conducted experiments on healthy and living humans scattered to never face justice because they're all chill. So this is the fucked up part. America's shameful part in all this. So the top doctors and soldiers of Unit 731 kept careful records of their experiments and used them to leverage their way to freedom after the war ended. When the Allies swept into China, they agreed to grant Ishii, the guy we talked about before, the leader of this whole thing, and many of his associates immunity from prosecution of their war crimes. The reasons the U.S. wanted the Unit 731's research for its own use, and it wanted to keep that information out of the hands of others, including the Russians. Thus, for years, the true nature of what went on in Unit 731 was shielded from public knowledge. By who? The United States government. Isn't that crazy? What a twist in this whole thing. Some of the truth came out in the something war crimes trial held in Russia City in December 1949. 12 members of the Unit 731 and associated units were tried. All were found guilty and imprisoned. Despite the trial, though, most of what went in the Harbin was immediately classified by the U.S. government and remaining clouded in secrecy. More details about the 731 are still being unearthed today. A confession of the unit commander written in the U.S. I can't even say that word right now. I don't even know why. At the base of Maryland shortly after the war was released on August 2021 by the Chinese provincial agency. So that fucked up too. The U.S. is not an outsider to this. Previously, I think the tendency was for the people in the United States to think this is a problem between Japan and their neighbors, but not only were we, of course, the major combatant in the war, we shaped the post-war settlement, including decisions like the one concerning the Unit 731. We made big decisions that was a war crime and what wasn't. We're the creator of the post-war order, and therefore we have the responsibilities to involve the involvement and dealings with the issues that were left, unfortunately, unresolved. What does that mean? So we're at the last part. It's like, it's weird because since the beginning of the story, the only part that the U.S. is involved is the alleged rescue boat, the Silver Star, and at a certain point we have the SS, the City of Baltimore boat. So, but besides that, the U.S. is not in the story. It's a Dutch ship, supposedly, or Indonesian, and the story would come out of Italy. And some people heard it in, like we saw, Rome, France, and Germany. So, U.S. is nowhere in the story. And then out of nowhere at the end, well, they're the one putting the veil over the book, over the whole thing. They're putting the cap on the shit. So we don't learn something about this. It makes me think of Operation Paperclip. That I'm not going to go in detail too much on YouTube because I'm going to get censored at this very second. So, allegedly, it's like Operation Paperclip because they literally take war criminals, bring him here, and like hide all the bad stuff he did for life and give him a new identity. That's the reason they called it the paperclip thingy. It's because they would get new papers and new personality, new person, new job, new age, new everything. So they were becoming somebody else out of nowhere. So literally, the U.S. there, what they did right here, even on Wikipedia, you can see that shit, and people can edit Wikipedia and fuck it up. But literally, The American government sent MacArthur to oversee rebuilding the post-war Japan and the shift to the democracy from the previous people in authority. During the occupation, this dude, he gathered data on the Japanese warfare, which was obtained through human experimentation. And Sanders' suggestion, MacArthur offered a full political immunity to the high-ranking officials who were instrumental in perpetrating these crimes against humanity in exchange for this data. Because we just want data, people. You got secrets? U.S. wants to pay for them at all times there about their experiments. Among those were the same dude, like I said earlier, the Shiro Ishii. This is the same dude. This is him. Was a Japanese war criminal, microbiologist, and army medical officer who was the director of Unit 731, a biological warfare unit of Imperial Japanese Army. Ishii led the development and applications of the biological weapons at Unit 731. So he tortured, destroyed, and hurt a lot of people. A lot of people. The commander of the Unit 731 during the cover operation, the U.S. government paid money to obtain data on the human experiments conducted in China, according to the two classified U.S. documents, government documents. The total paid to unnamed former members of the infamous unit was somewhere between 150,000 yen and 200,000 yen. An amount of yen at that time would be equivalent to 20 million yen or to 40 million yen today. So they paid these guys off quite well for them to do this. And this is the fucker. This is the top guy. The top killer. War crimes immunity, people. He was arrested by the U.S. there, technically, at the beginning there. And then, instead of fucking, making this guy suffer and making him talk for his information that we should have done, well, no. Let's get him on our team, give him immunity, and hide his identity to the U.S. citizen. So again, this is Unit 731. And when you look in Unit 731, you realize that some of the experiments with the chemicals were exactly the chemicals that you were seeing on the boat in those stories there. The cyanide and the sulfur, is that it? Cyanide and hydro siren. Let's go. Those two things. I didn't sleep last night, people. This is exactly because of that. Oh my goodness. Hey, can't even say words right tonight. It's incredible. I'm sorry if that bothered you guys tonight, even if I was reading a lot, because there was so much information about this. I can't do something half-assed there. So I went through like a lot of time and a lot of hours of research in this whole thing. And at the end of everything, I took notes right here. Let's break it down. So to top it off and get back to this whole story in one shot, like so. The first story, 1940, the Yorkshire Evening Post, the 21st of November, like we said, in 1940, was the first article about the boat in the beginning, and then the next day, the Daily Mirror, that's attached with that journal or newspaper or whatever, they do it too. Then the mysterious SOS call from that boat, and the bodies were unwounded. They were just dead, jammed, but unwounded. So and the SOS call was flashed from Ourang Medan asking for a doctor urgently, and later she asked for a warship. So that is the first story. And then also when they intercepted that SOS call. The SOS was from what? A steamship, Ourang Medan, big ship for shortwaves wireless to get in touch with a doctor urgently. The rescuer, hey man, I can't even talk right. It's incredible. The rescuer said that they were about 200 miles southwest of the Solomon Islands. And then they informed the SS Ourang and asked to transmit at their request. The rescuers were their shortwave set. They relayed the call for help, and medical stations in Germany, Rome, and France replied. I'm telling you, I did some research on this. I never found this, and I was looking deep. I was on sites I couldn't even understand what the fuck they were saying and translating the whole page every time. And right when you click something, go somewhere else on the site, you gotta retranslate it. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, I went deep and I never found it. If you guys in the comment find one of those 3 cities getting that call of SOS, I would love to fucking see that shit, because I'm telling you, I searched for it, never found it. So for me, don't think that happened. And the officers that found the crew had a dog dead on deck with no visible wounds. Open mouth and starry eyes were added later in that second story. And then the eyewitness account of the last phase of the mysterious ship tragedy has been brought to Trieste again. It starts by Italy, Trieste, that little town, and it starts with who? Silvio. Silvio is the one that's pushing the story. Is the story true or false? I don't know, because we don't have proof of the opposite. Because saying that the boat's not registered and stopping your fucking research there is ridiculous. Because if they're doing stuff illegal, they're probably not gonna put this boat registered and all that shit. So once again, to show you like the distance there, we're talking about fucking 9,000 kilometers like this there, and 2,100 like this before we go in a straight line like this for 7,000 kilometers. Those are the 3 locations different that this boat could be at. Look, it's so fucked up. Like the 2 first islands, okay, like they lost the Titanic, okay, but the other distance there, this is fucking ridiculous. So for me, the second story is really embellished, like that other reporter realized after a while, that this story is embellished to the highest degree. He just wanted to make the story like so much more than it was. So the story of 48, the tale had apparently originated from a surviving German crew member of the Ourang, not a rescuer, and he swam ashore like a fucking hero in the Marshall Islands. There he told his story to who? A missionary, who then told it to who? Yes, Silvio, people. Silvio of Trieste, Italy. In the 47 SOS, a Morse code was sent by the Dutch freighter ship Ourang Medan. Like, why would you fucking change the kind of boat it is? For me, that thing don't make sense there. And what do you know? In the 48 there, they just take off the what kind of boat it is. They don't even mention it. And it would have happened in June in 47. And the distress was 400 nautical miles southeast of the Solomon Islands. So one southeast, the other one southwest from their island. So they're even a bit further apart than we thought. It was received by 2 boats, and the other one, the Baltimore boat, and the Silver Star. The first message of the SOS Ourang was, "We float, all officers, including captain, dead in the charter room and on the bridge. Probably whole crew dead." Then something we don't understand, and then I die. So that is, they just modified a bit how it's said. I don't know what was the goal of that. So allegedly, in that second story, the Silver Star located the boat, and that's where they added that the starring eyes and the open mouth and stuff. They exaggerated that, and the horrible look that each of them had, like they were fucked up to the highest degree. When really the other story, like they were dead, but they weren't like damaged and stuff. Like, but those damage on them, like they were so fucked up. They were so weird. They said they wrote in the paper they were bad caricature. See, I can't even talk right. I gotta end this. Caricature of themselves. Imagine that. That was the that's what they said that it looked like. So to end us off there, these are the what I can compare of. So I found the first date, that's in 1940, and then the second date is 1947, June 30th, and then 1948, February 3rd and February 28th. I found 2 dates. Couldn't nail which one is the most popular one. They both had their popularity level. And then we have our famous favorite character, Silvio. What up? So Silvio accounts that he heard it from a missionary that heard it from a survivor in that 48. And before it's a Marine that was on the rescue boat that went to see them, and he didn't name his boat in the original story, but in the second story, it's the Silver Star. The Dutch Indies, modern Indonesia, in the straits of Malacca waters, the median was passing through the Strait of Malacca with 23. Remember, it was 13 or 12, the other one, with 23 crew members, including a captain and number of workers. No sign of a dog in this one. And the cone Morse was changed again a bit. We float, all officers, including the captain, dead in the charter room and on the bridge, probably whole crew dead, following a confusing of dots and dashes. 2 chilling words were understood: I die. So it's like now that they changed like the order of how they say the captain, charter room, and that kind of stuff. And you remember there were wardrobes or wardrobe room that they talked about earlier, and now we're not even seeing anymore. Following the fusing, that's it. In Indonesia, again, Uran Man in the median is the largest city of the islands of Sumatra. So, like the boat could have been an invention from somebody in that city. And was Silvio ever there? I didn't find him located there, but he was close enough to show up there if he fucking wanted. That's for fucking for sure. When you got a story to tell people, you're fucking going to tell it. So the speculation, the boat was carrying cargo from the Japanese Unit 731 chemicals and biological weapons. Like for me, why that is relative, it's in the fucking movie. It's gold, and there's chemical poison on the gold that nobody knows about it. But they know that if somebody tries to steal this gold, shit is gonna go down, people, and everybody's gonna get fucked up. And this boat is never gonna reach its destination, only because you chose to rob that gold. So that's in the movie, but they put it more spiritual with ghosts and shit. But that's the main of the story. And we know Unit 731 was exactly doing stuff like this with these exact fucking chemicals. And this is exactly during World War II, people. So we got to understand that during those times, we weren't going to tell the opposition what the fuck we're creating or what the fuck we're trying to do for the opposition. That's why surprise attack allegedly happened, like Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Like literally, we knew normally these attacks happen, but most of the time, they're not going to tell us the details of what they're moving from one place to the other. If it's chemicals and shit like that, they're not going to tell us that shit. So we gotta we got a critical think right there and tell ourselves it's very possible. And when I did my research, I fell on this guy, and it wasn't Silvio. They didn't know the name of the guy, but the guy was from the Japanese army and fell on the Marshall Islands exactly during this time. And I was like, is this like a coincidence? I don't know. For me, it's quite suspicious that the boat gets told to be sunk maybe there, and out of nowhere, what conspiracy theories think is the cargo could have been like chemicals from the Unit 731, and if so, everything makes sense after that, because these guys were in that for perimeter of water. So for me, it all makes sense right there. That did the boat exist for real? I don't know, but it would make sense that they wouldn't tell, and it would make sense that if the story, the person that started Silvio, really wanted to push it, well, he could have put anybody on anywhere on any island to keep saying his story, because he just told his story to reporters and writers, like people that are gonna create even more story. So at the end of everything, 200 miles southwest Solomon Islands, and then 400 miles southeast on Marshall Islands, and that's 1,300 miles difference, people. And then in 48, oh, now we're gonna change Strait of Malta, and that's 4,000 miles west from the first location. The warships were added in the SOS, then later dusted off. Oh, let's not put them. Mouth open and staring eyes, like I said, and the bad caricature of their body. This was just added in 47. So I think that Silvio had part with all of this there. He's the one that pushed the story initially. He's the one that that probably pushed it the second time as well. And there's articles that confirm that, like I showed you, that it proves that he said that story that second time too. And he was like, oh, this the last tips I got of this boat. There's no more questions I can answer. This is it. So even them, they were skeptical of what he was telling them this time, because he was talking like it was a new thing when it really happened 7 or 8 years before. So this is the end of the podcast on YouTube, people, because if you want to watch the next podcast, it's on Rumble, because Thursday we're doing on Rumble now instead of doing 2 the same night. That's quite honestly a lot of work for me, because as you see, I did a lot of research in this. I literally did not sleep last night. I can't even lie. That's why probably my eyes are like this there. So God bless your soul, people. So thank you for coming on the podcast, Rumbling Facts Podcast, people, where we talk about uncomfortable truth, dating advice, and fucking personal growth. And I give advice the most I can with the knowledge I have and the research I do, and try to open the eyes of people. And what I got to add to all this is I'm going to do a podcast soon about pig butchering scam. And I learned about this like this week, and I was shocked. I was shocked because I lived through something similar to that. Well, about like when I was coming sober. So that means 8 years ago. So I lived something exactly like that, like a dating scammer tried to get me, and he almost had me. And I'm going to tell this whole story and explain to people what a pig butchering scam is. I don't know if it's going to be in the next podcast, because we have a few amazing guests coming up. So I don't want to give any spoilers, but I'm telling you, we have people across the globe, literally across the globe, Australia, and anywhere around Earth right now, that I managed to contact, that are really interested in talking on our podcast. So thanks everybody to watch the show today. There was a lot of reading. There was a lot of talking about this boat, but I just wanted to get it out there. And it's a kind of conspiracy that I can talk on YouTube and not get censored by the like the social corporate media. So thank you a lot for coming on the podcast. I hope you learned something today, and if so, like and subscribe and comment below if you found this interesting or you like my work. And or let's say you're an expert in any kind of situation, you can write us on the podcast, and we'll see if you're a great fit for the show. So thanks, y'all. Rumbling Facts Podcast. See you Thursday at 9 p.m. And if it's later, it's because I'm uploading the video like this one right now. So take care. Love y'all. And